Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have back with us Stephen Ng, who's the founder of Stephen Ng Financial Group, and we'll be talking about IRA rescue to leverage retirement wealth. Stephen, welcome back to the program.
Yep. Good day to you, Mike.
Yes, sir. And whenever I hear titles, I always like to think, "Ooh, what's the purpose behind this?" And I know that a lot of people know what an IRA is, but I don't think a lot of people think it needs to be rescued. So I'm excited to learn about what your perspectives are on rescuing an IRA. So what does it really entail, IRA rescue, and how could people use this in their retirement wealth planning strategies?
All right, Mike. The IRA rescue entails different strategies to convert your IRA to tax-free money. And when I talk about IRA, I'm talking about, like qualified plans, could be 401, 403B plan, a deferred comp plan, and all that. But I categorize it under an IRA. It could be as easy as a Roth conversion strategy to more advanced strategies. But I think the main thing to remember is that the IRS wants to tax your IRA money. It's important to understand that before you pass away. So if you're not convinced, and I tell my clients all the time, if you're not convinced, just look at the RMD table, the required minimum distribution at age 73 and at age 104. At age 73, the RMD is around 3.8%. At age 104, it is around 20%. So basically, the nearer you are to your grave, the more the government wants to tax you, which is not a good thing.
I've heard it. Someone in the past said that it's almost like a fox sitting outside of like a groundhog hole in the middle of the field, just waiting for them to pop their head up, and boom, they've got their dinner. And it's almost like Uncle Sam is just sitting there waiting for our IRAs to trigger, so that here comes the taxes. And maybe one day it wasn't happening as fast as they would like, so they started putting these RMDs, required minimum distributions, out there to require this tax-free money that's been growing all these decades in your account to now start having triggering some taxes.
Yep, you're right, Mike. I mean, all you need to do is to look at the U.S. debt, which is one of the 6 financial storms that we talk about all the time. I mean, the U.S. debt, if you just Google right now, it is around 34.5 trillion, which is 6 zeros, and it's just crazy. And the government needs a lot of your money. Otherwise, we are going to be in trouble. So.
Yeah. And the other thing is, and we don't need to get into detail about this, but when people were putting money into these qualified accounts like 401ks or IRAs during their working years, it's been growing tax-free. So that was one of the benefits. Well, the people are maybe thinking in the back of the mind, oh, well, I'm going to let it just roll into my retirement, because when I am at that age, I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, there's no guarantee of that, because who knows what the tax brackets will be, and who knows whether taxes will be up or down. My vote would be they'll probably be up, given the deficit that you just mentioned. So it really is something to address now, when we know what the tax rates are, rather than waiting till way in the future, and then you just don't know how that's going to impact your retirement.
Yep, well said, Mike.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the misconceptions or pitfalls, because I feel like people just assume one thing and then they just kind of close off their mind. But I know that there's some misconceptions that might hinder retirement wealth growth. So how can some of these IRA rescue techniques that you address with your clients help?
Yeah, I think most people, unfortunately, worship the IRA, the 401, the 403, and do not realize that the IRA asset is a type of what we call a red asset that are subjected to income tax and also estate tax. Also, most people do not have strategies to pay tax on the seed, using a farming analogy, but you want to have a tax-free harvest. So you want the harvest to be tax-free. The biggest complaint I hear when someone reach age 73 for most retirees is that they have to pay more tax because of the RMD, and the RMD basically mess up the tax situation, Mike.
Hmm. I agree with that, and it makes me think of something else. I've heard that there are very strict penalties if you don't take out your required minimum distribution. So, for instance, I'll bet that there's someone out there that goes, "Oh, I know I've been told by my advisor I need to take out whatever percent, but I'm good this year because I've got this money squirreled away and I had this come in. I don't need to take it out this year because I don't need the money." But if they don't follow the RMD, it could be not only tax but penalties as well, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the penalties, by the way, used to be 50% of the penalty.
Wow.
Thank God, with the passing of the Secure Act during COVID, it dropped down to 25%. However, the government is still collecting billions of dollars for people who say, you know what, I do not want to take on my RMD. Sorry, there are penalties, and the government is
Yep.
collecting billions of dollars in penalties, Mike.
It reminds me of like when you have overdraft in your checking account. It's like, or you go over your limit on your credit card. They're not going to shut you down, but they're going to charge you for that. So I think that that's really important to remember, is to have someone qualified that can look at your situations, map out the blueprint of when you have to take out your RMDs, make sure you're doing it to stay compliant, plan for taxes, make sure you're not paying those penalties. So I think that's huge. So let's talk a little bit about how IRA rescue complements a traditional retirement planning method, because I feel like traditional retirement planning is you put your money in these qualified accounts, you retire at whatever age, and then you deal with the withdrawals and the taxes. But you're talking about kind of sequencing them beforehand and kind of rescuing that IRA to kind of smooth it out ahead of time, right?
Yep, definitely. And the IRA rescue strategies might will not only complement traditional retirement planning, but it has a big impact on one's financial plan when a client is alive, and more importantly, when a client is not around, of the transfer of wealth to the beneficiaries. And the advantages are just many when a person consider an IRA rescue strategies. Tax-free money will definitely help to stretch one's money in retirement. And remember, it is not what you make that is important. It is what is left after you pay the tax. And as a fiduciary, our responsibility is not only to our clients, but it's also to our clients' beneficiaries. And that's something which we remind ourselves day in and day out.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot, it's kind of like the domino effect. If you do one thing, it might affect multiple things. So you need to look at the strategy as a whole. You mentioned that an IRA rescue could be as easy as a Roth conversion strategy and even more advanced strategies. Where is it that you start when you're looking at a client to start looking at an IRA rescue? Where are you starting with them to see what would be beneficial for them?
Well, first of all, I mean, we need to find out, first of all, how much IRA they have.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we find out that most clients just do not have enough Roth. They have a more traditional IRA, whether it is in their 401k, the 403b, their TSP, their deferred comp, and all that. So that's always a good starting ground. And most people have most of their assets in IRA assets, which unfortunately are assets that the government want to tax like crazy. And that's where we deploy our IRA rescue strategies, and there are many of them, obviously.
And that might mean maybe triggering some, rolling out of an IRA into a Roth so that you can start having it grow tax free. So let's talk about some specific tax implications, or maybe even regulatory considerations that people need to be aware of when they're looking at some of these. So where do you start in advising your clients in that direction?
All right. So I think fundamentally, to state the obvious, and sometimes that's not very obvious, Mike, is
Mhm.
we always tell our clients, remember, tax avoidance and not tax evasion, because one of them you go to
Mm.
jail, right? Which is not good.
Yep.
So tax implications and regulatory considerations depends on the type of strategies that we recommend and implement. One of our strategies provide tax-free money at the death of the owner. Another of our strategies provide tax-free money while the individual is alive and at their passing. Most people do not know how to leverage, example, their house or their investments to create big tax deductions in their financial plan to avoid income tax, capital gains tax, and estate tax. One big item, by the way, might on the tax horizon for serious consideration is the sunset provision, which is coming by the end of 2025, in particular on estate tax exemptions. Potential for drastic reduction on federal tax exemption is real. We tell our clients that planning is urgent, especially for high net worth individuals with the sunset provision coming up in 2 years' time. So,
I think that a lot of times people, we all think that we know something, right? They come to you and like, oh, well, my house is paid for, or my house is not paid for, or I do want to use my house to leverage, or I don't want to use my house to leverage. But I think that one recommendation that you would make is to be open-minded and just kind of look at the big picture, because there could be a way to leverage your house or investments to create tax deductions or capital gains savings or estate tax. So don't come in with a preconceived idea of I would never do this or this or this. Take a look at the big picture, because like to your point, things could benefit you now, but then at the end of 2025 with these sunsetting rules on estate tax, things can change. So it's never set it and forget it. Oh, I'm good to go because I did this 4 years ago, and now I never need to make a change to this plan. It needs to be reviewed so that we're making sure that any external environmental regulatory changes that have been made aren't impacting you negatively. So I think that's a pretty big thing that people should keep in mind, right?
correct. Yep. Right. I think your comments reminded me of one of my professors years ago when I was in college. Said this. He said, "There's nothing worse than a mind that is closed. You always want to have an open mind. That's important." I tell clients and potential clients through our webinars, our seminars, and all that all the time that that's the reason why we do webinars, we do a podcast, we do seminars, because we want to educate clients and potential clients out there. Most people are just not aware. And you're right, Mike. We are in just such a dynamic environment, right? Unless you had been in hibernation, right? The Secure Act that came out in 2020, and then they have the Secure Act 2.0. They made drastic changes to tax laws, in particular on IRA. And then now we have the sunset provision that is coming. And it's some of the strategies, if you do not use it, you're going to lose it. If you speak to an elder care attorney and estate planning attorney, they will tell you that, especially if you're married and all that. So just be open and realize that we are in a dynamic environment, and the IRS is always out there to make changes, to erase benefits, or to make changes to the tax law so that they can get their money. So you got to be careful.
I tell you, I was thinking about a comment, and then you ended the word with being careful. And here's my comment. It just goes so well. It's almost like we knew what each other was going to say, and we don't. But I was going to say, when someone hears, oh, keep an open mind, that could be really scary when you're talking about your life savings and retirement, because that could mean that advisor is getting ready to tell you some harebrained, crazy idea and strategy that benefits them more than you. But given our conversations in the past here of you being a fiduciary and caring about your clients and being careful with the recommendations that you're making to make sure that they are being well taken care of, now taking that open mind approach is helping them understand just some options. But at the end of the day, they're the ones in control making that decision. So I think being careful is just so important that you just made.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Mike.
So let's think about maybe an example or a case study or success story where you've worked with a client with this IRA rescue strategy, and it really worked to help them improve their retirement outlook. So what are some things that you've experienced in the past that you've provided to clients?
Yeah, Mike. We, out of our 32 years in practice, I would say we have been using a lot of these IRA strategies, rescue strategies, probably consistently over the last probably 15 years to provide either a guaranteed income to our clients, and at the death of the owner, the beneficiary gets the original deposit of the IRA, even without medical underwriting, which is really, really important because there are some strategies that requires you to basically get life insurance and all that. And most people, when they're over 65, they are not able to get medical underwriting and to get life insurance and all that, which is another different strategies. One of the strategies that we use a lot, and we have many of these that we have used and help our clients. And one in particular came to my mind. This particular client was an engineer, and unfortunately, he passed away when he was 65. Before he passed away, 3 years actually before he passed away, we took $500,000 of his IRA money before he passed away. And we used one of our IRA rescue strategies designed for him and his wife. So when he passed away, when he was 65, his wife actually got $500,000 tax-free. Although the account value was around $300,000 after all the withdrawals and market volatility. In most cases, at the passing of an IRA owner, the amount that passed on to the beneficiaries is actually the account value and not what was originally deposited into the IRA, right? So in this case, his wife was able to have more tax-free assets to use in her lifetime without having to pay any taxes at all on the IRA that she inherited. And we just got so many other cases that we have used this particular strategy without medical underwriting because he was not very well. When we open up the 500,000 IRA, there's no way he's going to get any life insurance, and this was just perfect to use it nicely. And the wife was in a state of shock, and most of the time the beneficiaries are in like absolute surprise. They say, "Wow, how can that happen?" I said, "Well, we recommend that to your parents and to your dad or your mom, and that is great." And we were happy for the beneficiaries that we can help. So.
It's amazing, not that you can promise that kind of thing to everybody, but it's neat to see that that's one of the options to get a little bit more benefit than what you even put in or the face value. That's huge. Kind of makes me think about something too. If someone has an IRA or someone's being told you should do this with it or that with it, I would think that someone like yourself could sit down with them and look at their plan, look at their strategy, and give a second opinion and kind of give some guidance that way, right?
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Remember what I just mentioned in the case study or the example is just one of the many strategies, right? And remember, there's not one strategy fits all, one size fits all, and we really need to know you as a client, being that we're fiduciary, to know your situation, how much you have, how much net worth, how much investable assets, what are your goals. What is how's your lifestyle? What are your legacy and all that before we can provide a suitable recommendation? Because remember, we just do not have just one strategy, but sometimes often the IRA rescue involve maybe a combination of strategies or not just one strategy. So keep that in mind in terms of your planning.
Yes. Well, I feel like that is so important, Stephen, and I really appreciate you coming back on and explaining this IRA rescue strategy. If someone is interested in learning more and getting maybe that second opinion, what's the best way that they can reach out?
Well, the easiest way is give us a call. Our number is 973-218-9600, or go to our website. All our information are there. Our website is Stephen, spelled with a PH, STEPHEN, ngfg.com, and we look forward to helping you and to manage and to rescue your hard-earned IRA money.
Excellent. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming back on. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
No problem, Mike. God bless you. Always good to talk to you, Mike.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of Stephen Eng and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member of FINRA and SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.